And good evening. Welcome to Kingdom Lum Small Town Underground. Welcome this Wednesday evening, folks, as we are just getting set up. I made a new little intro, added some more pictures. Today, I was blessed to be able to go on the War Room Gwinnett with Antonio Jones. It was a jam-packed show on election integrity in the Establishment Club. We had a really good time. I thank Antonio for letting me be a part of that. And here with me tonight, as you can see, is our friend. God, sorry, I'm sitting here doing 50 things. Uh, what is your name? God,
Tyler.
Tyler. I was sitting here thinking of a guy's last name, Tyler Martin. Sorry, y'all. This is what happens when you're doing like 20 things at once. So sorry about that, Tyler. I just had a complete brain freeze, but everybody knows who you are.
Oh, you're good.
Thank you, man, for being on the show. I'm going to pause all that for just a second so I can focus here. So we had it's been an awesome few days. We've been doing a lot of uh, focusing on the school board meetings in Catoosa County, talking about election integrity. I'm going to be releasing a YouTube some content to all the channels later on a little election integrity video that I popped out. And the reason I haven't posted it yet is because I wanted to make sure to get this live stream with Tyler in before I get a community strike or anything. So, welcome to the show, man. It's been a minute, except you were on with me and Ray by phone. And tonight, I think we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to back away from the politics and get back to the stuff that you and me really like to focus on. So, how you
For
doing,
sure.
man?
Good. It's been over a year since I've done a live just because like everybody else, I got it burnt out on the politics, but also the shadow banning was just unreal. And I was like, man, I like making content. I want to keep making content. So I got into my favorite thing that's hanging here behind me and just kind
Yes.
of buckled down and went all in with that because they say do the things that bring you joy, and that truly does. Like, as much as I love talking politics and things like that with people,
Yeah.
and I don't like to argue with people. Like, that's one thing. Like, and seems like in this day and age now, if you have a difference of opinion, people just want to get very combative about
Oh
it.
yeah.
And at least with something like this, it's yeah, you're gonna have your trolls and your people that are just out to make trouble, but
Sure.
I'm kind of impressed. Like, YouTube, for all its faults, has, especially the past few months, has been really good to me.
Yeah.
Just with the community that I've kind of touched with and whatnot, and just the positivity and comments. Versus, I didn't get that with the political side of things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Politics can be a bit crazy, and everybody's got their opinions, and it's not as forgiving as other things. But I'm going to bring up your channel real quick before we get started talking. So tell everybody about your channel. It's the YouTube channel.
So I came across it, like, I was trying to, similar to what you were doing. I was trying to do a live at least once every week, maybe to every 2 weeks, just depending. I tried to be on it with things going on, to be relevant, because like any of us, we can get on here and we can hit that live button and we can go on for hours and hours and hours
Yes.
about everything. But now, I was invited to do a challenge by a guy named Jay. He's the Modern Minuteman on
Hmm.
YouTube is his YouTube channel, and I really like him. Like, he's a good, down to earth dude. He lives up north, I believe, in the state of Ohio. I can't remember specifically, not that it matters, but
Right.
he's a civilian. Like, when he was younger, I think he's in his 50s now. When he's younger, he would do rock climbing, things like that. Really cool stuff, but he's never really in the military. Well, a
Yeah.
few years ago, he got into guns and gear and kind of linked up with people that were in the military and kind of learned about this stuff. And his channel just grew. He was almost just like, a dad just trying to do things and wanting to be able to go out, be an outdoorsman, and learn how to shoot guns, and and all that. And that kind of inspired me, because I'm like, man, I'm that guy. Like,
Right.
that is who I am. That's what I love to do. Like, any solid minute that I get to go out and mess around with one of those,
Absolutely.
it's a fun day. It's a great day. And so I don't know, he kind of invited to do like a challenge video. He does these little scenarios of things, that could possibly be going on in the world. And so I kind of went out and did that, and it just kind of got hooked. Like it kind of seemed like a natural fit for me to
Right, right.
go and make videos because especially for our area where we're at, like most of your gun, survival prepping videos are like it's I listen to Hannity every day, but it's like Hannity, he keeps you going, I guess you could call it gaslighting or something, but just keeps you like, today's emergency is, and I feel like a
Yes.
lot of these prepper gun channels have
Oh, yeah.
really they got out there, and it's like to me, it's like I love it. I love Uncle Alex, AJ,
Mhm.
but I can only listen to his stuff, a couple times a week because I listen to it so much. It kind of just becomes that background thing because like an echo chamber. Because I'm like, man, he's just saying everything I already know at this point. Like nothing's
Oh, you're
surprising.
right. You're right.
But
I kinda I listen to a lot of doom and gloom, but I've learned to listen on my own time because just like you said, I'll stumble on a video maybe that I missed on a doom and gloom channel from 2 weeks ago, and it the same title, "The world is ending in 24 hours," and it's like, well, that was
yeah,
2 weeks ago, and I'm listening to you tell me that the world is ending, so I'm gonna pull back a little bit.
but sadly, man, with social media, like especially if you're a content producer, you almost have to be clickbaity in your titles just to get people to click
Yeah,
on it. That's how the algorithm favors you is you have to get them to click that's your advertisement. It's your movie poster essentially. It's like what's
yeah.
driving people to see your movie. And so
Yeah,
that
I don't have anything wrong with that. I understand how the game is. I don't necessarily like to play that. YouTube, they must really hate me. I think I've not moved maybe 10 subscribers this year. Now Rumble, Facebook is a whole different story, but it's like we're putting out the same content, but like it is dead linked. So it just is what it is.
brother, I started out in the low thousands of views.
Uh-huh.
Well, a few of them, maybe 1,000, which I was happy. Anything I was like, man, that's 1,000 people that clicked on something that I had to say or had to make. I was like that. I was ecstatic, and then it got to where it's just hundreds, and then maybe fifties, and like yeah, like it took me forever to get to 500 subscribers, and I'm not big by any means
Yeah.
at all. That's
Oh,
I'm
so
still
you've got
just
like a little over 1,000. That's still
yeah.
pretty good. So
Well, that's one video, my latest video, and like my ultimate goal with doing this is like I'm just gonna make each video better. Like I'm learning editing.
mhm.
Premiere Pro is a beast. The
Yes, it is.
possibilities are endless. You know,
Yeah,
it's yeah, you got to pay, and that's a little bit of it. Is I'm shelling out money paying to play, and hopefully
I
this
understand.
hobby will kind of generate a return to sustain itself. That's the ultimate goal.
Sure.
But
I
I
actually
mean,
did it for a month, and I realized that there was not enough time in my life to sit down and learn
yeah.
Premiere, so I started using Shotcut and a couple of different free ones that are doing better, but
If
Premiere
you're
is
not
is awesome.
if you're not trying to make like I've been really into color grading and just getting the picture looking just right because that's the thing, especially with YouTube. It's a little more big league, and people care about it, the aesthetics and the ambience.
Mhm,
And so you got to make content that you would watch. You're like, I'm gonna make something that I would sit down and watch, and I'm like, oh, well, that's something I didn't know, or this
mhm.
is what I learned from such and such. And yeah, this last video, like I couldn't believe it. Like I put it out there into the world, and like in a day, it had like 900 views. I was like, it's doing, that's just what it takes. Like you just kind of keep rolling and rolling, and eventually, it'll snowball.
Mhm.
And then, man, like now it's like 23,000 views, I believe, the last time I checked it, and
That's good.
it's still going strong. And I'm like, that's insane to put something out 3 weeks ago and it to be doing that to still be gaining ground. So I'm like, maybe there is something to it, but it's
Well, there is. It's good content. I enjoy watching. I'm sure it's not for everybody, when you start
no.
getting into the techie, but I love it. You produce good content. You keep it funny. So, I like it. It's good stuff.
Well, I try to do that, and the biggest problem right now with the tactical space and the prepper space on YouTube is all these people are sponsored. Like
Sure.
any of them that are big household names to most men, because let's face it, that's what it mostly caters to. these products they're pushing, man, they're paid, in
Oh
some
yeah.
form or fashion, and a lot of it, just like the last one I made, and I don't have it in here, I'd show it, but it's the 90s LBV 88, load bearing vest that's designed to work with Alice kit.
Mhm.
And these people go out and buy this company called Spirited System, which is great. It's a veteran owned, special forces guy that created it. It's created with his stuff in mind, but I mean the rig is like $600 starting out, and then by the time you get all the accoutrements, all the pouches and additionals, you're in $1,000 on a freaking rig just to carry
Right.
stuff.
Oh
And I'm
yes.
like, who like people are barely spending $1,000 on something like that behind me. Do you really think you can talk them into spending another grand on something that they might put on once every few
Exactly.
months, if even?
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I'm out here. I'm like, I'm the everyday man. Like I do train more than most. I probably shoot more than most, and this is what I run because I'm if I'm gonna feel like crap if I spend a grand on something. I'm out here dragging it in the dirt and mud and
Oh
profusely
yeah.
sweating into it. I'm gonna be like, man, that's $1,000 I'm sweating into.
Sure.
But
Sure.
now, like something like this, I'm like, huh, I'll sweat. It gets dirty. Hey, spray it off with the water hose. Done.
That's what I like, man. I like to get lucky and find like a good set of camo pants at the
Yeah,
Goodwill. I've even found a chest rig before there, started a Minuteman kit out of $14 at
that's
a
where that
resale shop. So,
And that's what I want. Everybody just having this is not enough. This right here, you
yeah.
cannot just have that. Like you need to be actively shooting it, and then when you feel like you're comfortable, you need to start training with gear and carrying
Yes.
with you and figuring out like if something happens, if it's a red dawn scenario, and Chinese paratroopers are landing like in your neighborhood in the morning, what are you grabbing and taking? You got 5 minutes.
Yep.
5 minutes. What are you and this would make a great video. 5 minutes.
Yes.
What are you gonna grab and run out the door with?
Yeah, you need to write that one down. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
I
And
mean,
I think that's kind of what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to be kind of pulling back from the politics and from the all that other stuff, and we're kind of going to go into some territory that me and Tyler like to talk about a lot. So, um, both of us have been watching, and Tyler's especially been watching this UK civil war that has been unfolding. And if you're on Twitter, of course, if you're on X, there's a tons of videos posted there, on the ground people, like old style Tim Pool cameras out. But then you switch over to American media, and it's crickets, right? That and the geopolitical, bird's eye view. We're not getting a lot of that, nor are we getting any of the latest articles in artificial intelligence. And that these are some things that we need to be looking out for while we're worried about Trump and Kamala and blah 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 and all this political doom and gloom. We need to remember that whatever we're being spoon fed, in front of us, there's always something from behind. Um, so why don't you? I guess we can kind of start there. Let's talk a little bit about the UK, the Civil War. what
I
what
mean,
have you
let's
been seeing?
saying that they may come and try to extradite us. I don't think
Oh
I'll even
yeah, I forgot about that.
I
I'm trying to find that video, but go ahead.
I mean, Georgia gun owners has been they've caught wind of it and they're going all out making memes. But I mean, how crazy is it for one country to sit here and say, with you having an opinion about what's going on over here and spreading misinformation, we're going
Mm.
to try to extradite you from your, it's very bold to say to a country that's already got its ass whipped by us twice.
Well,
I,
the whole thing is asinine, but
it really is. I chuckled a little bit whenever they said that, but I'm just sitting here like, man, in this day and age, considering what happens after November and what
Mhm.
president we have, like that might be becoming a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the scary side of it is it may actually start becoming a thing that we have to worry about is like, maybe our First Amendment right is protected here on US soil. But you
Hmm.
know that this the thing about the internet. I mean, it can be viewed around the world. So what if I say something here that's illegal somewhere else and they have extradition laws and they look
Right.
it up and they're like, "Oh, well, Mr. Tyler here makes very conservative posts on social media. We're just gonna
Right.
let them extradite him. We're gonna let them have him. He
Well, of
broke the rules
course.
in England.
Well, think about that. I mean, we already know, we're the only country that has the Constitution, what we know of as a free speech, but the UK's never actually had free speech, and now they are talking about jailing people. They're actually going after
Yeah.
people for their speech, which is
Social
insane.
media posts, like sharing a
Uh-huh.
Facebook post, they
Yes.
have people knocking on the door. I think I just looked this up a minute ago. Is like 1,000 people arrested.
Yes.
Well, that was over violence, looting, arson. They're they're trying to paint this as kind of like the summer of love, but
Mhm.
let's dive into real. And I'm just going to hit with cliff notes because it could be an all day topic, and
Right.
there's a lot of angles and semantics here. But from what I've gathered, what I've researched, a lot of this started just after the July 4th elections. That people were
Mhm.
very dissatisfied because the far leftist party of the United Kingdom kind of took the cake, and
Right.
they felt like, hey, guess what? They felt like it was awful funny, but and just to sidebar this, I looked at the Venezuela uh, elections, and that could be a great topic for a video for you to do. And
Yes.
you know, you had that election there, and they were showing the graphs, for when the ballots came in and when they were
Mhm.
counting the ballots. And it's funny. I wish I could find it and you put it up on here, but the ballots, they kind of follow that same trend that we've seen in all the battleground states, that just for one candidate, they shot up, and it's like
Mhm.
nothing else came in for the candidate that was winning before this
Right.
unnatural curve,
Mhm.
that magically puts you ahead of your opponent, and
Yeah.
I would love to see, but it's very weird. Like Australia and the United Kingdom and a lot of those Western European countries are very secretive about their election results, and
Sure.
you
Well,
know, I
did you see the article where Smartmatic, Smartmatic was, the ESS systems, they've detained like the top 3 people in the company for
yeah,
bribing the election results in another country. I mean, and here we are getting made fun of and told that there's no such thing as a election, fraud and all these things, and that these top company CEOs are being arrested in other countries. I mean, come on,
yeah. Well,
you
you
know?
talk to anybody that is in our psyops, like our U.S. Army psyops, and
Yeah,
any of the people that are in the know in the CIA, and they'll straight up tell you that they meddle in other countries' election.
sure.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't tell me that they don't do that here.
Oh, Lord. I
I
mean,
mean, who was it? Was it Pennsylvania that said that they're like we're how many is it 84 days, 85 days we're out from the election right now?
oh,
And
yeah.
they said that they will not have the results election
Mhm.
night.
That's exactly what they said. They said they will not be able to have the election results. I had that story pulled up earlier reading it, and I was like, "Dear God!" I mean, it's every angle of meddling has already started, right? Not to
I
mention,
mean,
well, we'll cover that in a minute. But go ahead.
I feel like it's like 20, like for us, I feel like it's 2016 and 2020 combined all over again.
Sure.
It's insane world, like clown world as you like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the UK, this is when a lot of this started, was just after those elections, but you also had a catalyst thrown into the mix.
Right.
And there was a like a little girls dance pageant, dance themed Taylor Swift dance themed pageant.
Mhm.
And you had somebody that fit a certain description for over there, a certain ethnicity and
Mhm.
religious description over there. They all but banned guns there, so
Yeah.
firearms are not easy to get a hold of. Even most of the police officers there, like you have to be a high up police officer to even carry a
Sure.
firearm. And
Sure. That's what? That's Australia, New Zealand. That's the
yeah,
UK.
all of them,
That's
all of them.
Canada. I mean, how many other countries?
Most of them are banning knives now, like knives that are bigger than an asinine small
Right.
length of knife. And so this person went on a stabbing spree and sadly killed 3 little girls. And, you know, the people get mad about it.
Right.
The actual people who are born and raised, live in London,
Hmm.
or live in the United Kingdom, the
Right.
people who are actually from there, the British,
Right.
they
Exactly.
a lot of them, the public, get mad and have outrage over this, and so it's released, and it said that the guy that killed him was a migrant, had just recently landed there within the past year or so.
Yes.
It almost paints a similar story as to what's going on here in the United States. Very, very, very similar, the
Mhm.
story that it paints, that this happens and the people are, very upset, and they're like saying, "Hey, do something." And then the weirdest thing happens. And it baffles me, just the boldness of it, is the media switches who the killer was.
Mhm.
It
Sure.
switches it up.
They
It
swapped it in broad daylight right in front of your lying eyes. Just
Yeah,
swapped it out after all the civil unrest starts. It's ridiculous.
it is. And I'm like, I'm sitting here like I'm just riveting off the whole Harris was not the border czar thing, because I'm sitting here
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
are they trying to Mandela affect me? Like, what's going on?
I
Because
don't
I
know.
know what I seen four
Mhm.
4 years ago. I know what I seen. I
Sure.
saw what I saw. Like, I know,
Well,
and I
I'm
know
sure
what
you've,
Biden announced.
Jeffrey Epstein, just recently, it was, they're going back on, what's they're actually just deleting out a lot of information that's tied to people like the Clintons about Jeffrey Epstein. They're just quietly going back through like Wikipedia and stuff and removing all of these
Oh,
things,
Wikipedia,
you
like,
know.
it is constantly
Mhm.
being edited, constantly. Like,
Always.
go and look up any person that's in Congress right now. Like, it is constantly.
Yes,
But
and I'm sure you heard the story about Mark Zuckerberg, right? They were trying to ban the fight, fight, fight picture on Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg had to call Trump and apologize. I mean, we obviously know that things are getting shadow banned and removed. You and me have talked about the dead internet theory. Some people out there might know what we're talking about, which
it's
is
not a theory.
it's
It
really not right.
it goes right along with, and we'll definitely have to touch on that when we talk about our topic coming. And with the government ruling Google as a monopoly, now the government's like, well, we've ruled this. What are we going to do about it?
Yes.
And the thing that's going on here with technology is very, very disturbing. And I like the average Joe, the people that are a little bit older than us, they don't get it. But like, I'm starting to see the pattern now. And that's what, like, I'm sitting here trying to tell people, I'm like, finally, it's got a name, dead internet theory. And this is how they're going to Mandela affect everybody, that they can just constantly change the past. Because I don't know if you see this over here, it's probably hard to make out, but that all of that this is part of my library, and a lot of it is books on warfare,
Mhm.
the history of wars, history of military equipment, all kind of different things like that. And I've been driving this home ever since I did the lives, is you need to get books, because
Absolutely.
this stuff is being changed right before your eyes. Like,
Yes.
that's what part of dead internet theory is. Like, websites you've known and loved will just up and disappear. I've got
Yep.
a great one for that I grew up on. I'm not sure if you did or not, Roy, but it was Cartoon Network had a website, and you could go on there during the 90s. You could go on there and watch episodes of cartoons that you liked as a kid. It was 100% geared to kids. Had all kind of games related to the cartoons out that you could go and do, and it just up and disappeared.
Hmm.
Max bought it out. When you go to it now, it sends it to like a thing for Cinemax, the streaming service,
Wow.
and that's it. And it's gone just like
Yeah.
that.
Sure. Well,
And
we obviously know that they're trying to change history. They're trying to control history, and they understand that the less history that you learn about, the stupider you're going to be because you're going to be doomed to repeat it. I mean,
yeah, and
it's
it's at a push of a button now. Like before, they would have to go and collect every one of these to
right.
change it.
And I
You
can't
know,
remember. Well, I don't have time to find the video, but there was a video there. It was whoever the Google representative was talking about during the pandemic, how or during the election, how they controlled what people saw and what came up into the search browser. And we were talking about it earlier. I was talking about it with a friend. You try to type in something in Google, and it's going to show you every CNN and ABC, MSNBC, and it caters to whatever they want you to see. It's not what necessarily you're looking for. And that's happening on a regular basis. I mean, all over. Even when we tried this experiment last week, because on X, they're really just they're busting them out every 24 hours. But we tried to type in something about Donald Trump. At first, it wouldn't type any, it wouldn't show you anything about the assassination attempt. But then what I got to noticing is that every time you typed in something specific about Donald Trump, every single article that came up, and I've got screenshots on my phone,
Kamala Harris.
every single article that came
Everyone.
up had Kamala Harris in the title and in the front, and Donald Trump was secondhand. It was ridiculous, right? And just so our listeners, I'm sure this is some breaking stuff that's happening, but in the tech world, I wanted to bring this up real quick. Kamala Harris campaign modifies news headlines and Google ads. So this is the newest revelation, is that all of these ads that you're seeing that's been swaying the polls, that's been
Sponsored by
coming at you,
little text.
yeah, all over the place, where all of a sudden it's this homegrown. Oh, everybody's so excited about Kamala Harris. It turns out that they've been paying God knows how many millions of dollars to take ads and manipulate the headlines to make it look like that it's just some huge spectacle. And it's all a farce. Everything that you're watching is fake. And they busted them out yet again. And this is an actual article from Newsweek. I mean, this is not something that's coming from like, some third-rate website, right? This is what they deem is trusted news. There it
Look,
is.
they know that the moderate base that this is who they're aiming for, because if they're a registered Democrat, they got them. There's only a small percentage that's not going to vote Democrat, and they'll die before they vote conservative. They know that the people that are in the middle that could vote either way, they only read headlines. They do not take the time like we do. They do not dive in and read all this stuff. They read headlines, and that's it. And so they're mimicking these headlines. And the other thing, I made a Facebook post the other day, I don't know if you've seen it, where I think that anybody that has a political figure on or is going to talk about them, if they were paid by that party or by any
Oh,
kind of
yes.
political action committee, they should have to disclose that. And the FCC conveniently says that they don't. And case in point is TikTok. That
Oh, God,
Kamala
yeah.
Harris is blowing up all over TikTok. And y'all don't lose this. This has everything to do with the UK and everything else going on. We're
Right.
kind of circling around back to it, but it'll paint a broad picture. And if you have to jump off here, come back around, listen the next day. A lot of times that's what I have to do. But we're painting a picture here. And with Harris, it got leaked some of the things, like the DNC right now is paying influencers $20,000 to come.
Yeah.
And so I read something like just low entry level people that don't have a lot of followers on social media, that they're paying them like $1,500 per ad that they record. Not
I've
everyone
seen
that
it.
runs, but just one that they record, they're paying them $1,500
Yep.
to promote. And it's like, and you're wondering why you're seeing Kamala Harris this, Kamala Harris that, and Drew
Exactly.
Barrymore on her show saying that we need Mamala and everything. Like,
Isn't it crazy?
these
They've got all
people
the
are
money.
being paid.
They're getting paid. They're being paid to show up at places that they're going to be. They had to offer a Megan Thee Stallion concert just to get people to fill up
Yeah.
half Atlanta.
And a lot of them left after she was done.
Got up and walked out. We've seen the plane pictures that were artificially modified, that even the company themselves came out and said, look, nobody's going to believe this. They didn't care. Let's just throw it out there, because that's what they're doing. They're throwing everything out on the wall. It's a gaslight. And, and I'll go back to this before we're going to fix and get into the meat and potatoes. But, we were being gaslit a few weeks ago before Biden was forced out of office, right? Undemocratically forced out. And everybody was taking bets on, was it going to be Hillary Clinton? Is it going to be Michelle Obama? Nobody even considered that the vice president, Kamala Harris, even during that time, think back, nobody in there
I
was
think
even
her
considered.
approval rating then was, like, in the 20s. I
Yeah.
swear I seen it was in the
Isn't
20s
that crazy though? Because she is the vice president. She, by all rights and intents and purposes, should be the next one in line. And nobody, that's how little we cared about Kamala Harris all across the board.
because
And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah,
we
well, you have to scratch your
underestimated
head, man.
the power of the media.
Yeah. The
'Cause
media
they
don't have
said,
to gaslit.
just wait, because we're gonna throw," and, like, and this is one I'll have to say, Sean Hannity called it. 'Cause
Right.
he, like, all this was going down, I like, in real time, he was like, "They're gonna force Biden to step down," and he's like, Whoever they bring on will be the next coming of Christ." What do you know? It happens, and then the VP pick, the third coming of Christ.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
wouldn't even
like,
call her an underdog though. She was non-existent
no.
in this whole thing. And then all of a sudden it's her.
Well, Judge Joe Brown said it best, like, he called her a POS, and he's like, she's just serves up word salads. He's like,
That's
you
right.
can't run a country doing that. He's like, Biden's living proof, and like, he's like, she's worse than Biden.
Mhm. And that's why
She's
she will not take an interview.
no, even CNN's going
Speaking of,
after her.
Judge Joe Brown, I didn't pull up the flyer, but we've got new flyers coming. Judge Joe Brown is gonna be at our, big event on September the 7th. You'll be able, if you come out to our event, you're going to be able to meet Judge Joe Brown. He's gonna be there all day. He's gonna be speaking, and, we'll continue to put flyers out. Yes. All right. So I'm going to kind of kick us into second gear here. So I want to show everybody this. I was just telling Tyler this because Tyler and I didn't actually plan this, but when Tyler sent me some stuff, and I immediately said we need to do a show because I'm getting, so inundated politically, and this very much scared me. But if everybody can see what I'm about to hold up, this is a pen and gear standard binder. This is the little sticker that you put on, that they put on the binders of the store. This came from Walmart, and it's a standard school binder, okay, that you buy for your kids, or if you're gonna, a 3-ring binder. That's it. That's what that is, okay. And a lot of times the kids will peel off the sticker on the front of the binder. So my daughter bought a few, brought it home, stuck the stick, or peeled the sticker off. And of course, she's a kid, right? Normally I would throw it in the trash. The trash is 4 feet away, but somehow it was left out on the island, right? And I went to go see what it was, and I picked it up. And lo and behold, I look on the back, and there's this little thing on the back, and I kind of couldn't understand what it is. And you can't see it and you can't feel it. It's very thin. And so I'm like, what is this? Is some kind of security tag? And I pull it off, and I don't have a zoom, but this is the tag that was underneath it. Looks kind of weird. It almost looks like something that would come off of like a motherboard of a computer or something. And it says Smart Track Web. Okay. So this is what got me going down the rabbit hole, because I was like, what is Smart Track? I already knew what it was, but I wanted to be absolutely sure what it was. So I decided, well, let's just go to good old trusty Google and find out what they say about this. And I have this all. Why is it not letting me pull this up? Anyway, I'm gonna pull this up real quick because we're fixing to get in our text. So this is the images of the Smart Track Web, so you can get a much better view of what this is. It's a little bitty. It's an RFID chip, okay? And let's see here. Wow, it's not pulling it up for some reason. On my phone, it will pull it up, but let me pull this back down a little bit because I want to just tell y'all what this is and why on earth would it be on a 3-ring binder notebook, right? So let's see here. Let me pull this back down because this is kind of disturbing to me. It's even in my house at the moment, okay? Smart Track Web. Okay. It's an Avery Dennison Smart Track Web inlays and tags are designed for the unique identification of items such as apparel and electronics. All right. So they have these in cars. They have these all over. Smart Track Ultra continuously monitors machine condition to detect and diagnose. Anyway, this whole thing is, and I find this very interesting that it's not pulling up right now. When the other day I had it pulled up. Let me see here. Let me find my screenshots real quick because anyway, so I'm serious, dude. This is not pulling up on Google right now. This is super, super weird. But when I pulled it up the other day, it came right up. And it just says that the unique identification of items such as apparel and electronics, they are suitable, especially in for item level retail, logistics, and supply chain. I mean, all of this stuff is kind of really vague how it see if you can get it to pull up because this is super weird because I wanted to read what it said that it can actually send signals. To me, it sounded like sonar, right? Like it can send signals back and forth, bounce signals off of things, kind of like the Internet of Things type. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Think of well, I mean, think of like an Apple AirTag. You know that
Yes.
like
Yes.
they're small, maybe silver dollar size, if even. And
Yes.
that all it does, it doesn't have the power to send out a signal by itself, but it pings off other iPhones.
Right.
So look at a device like this where they're sitting there like, well, everybody has a wireless router in their house now.
Sure.
Everybody, and the thing is, like, I talk about stuff like this with people, and especially
Mhm.
like in the prepping atmosphere, and people are like, "Well, that's archaic compared to your iPhone," and I'm like, "Let me tell you where you're wrong. Both of these operate off radio waves,
Mhm.
and your Wi-Fi is a radio wave. And whenever you dip into ham radio theory and just the different frequencies and everything, it's like all of this technology still runs off radio waves. I mean, your cell phone,
Ah,
everything. You find it?
okay. I did find something. Yes. So listen to what this is. It says, yes, radio frequency identification tags, RFID tags, can be tracked using RFID technology. They contain microchips with information about the tagged object and antennas that allow them to communicate with RFID readers. The reader captures the tag signals and sends it to a computer system or software for processing. The data can include the tag's location, condition, quantity, and ID. They can be tracked automatically using active tags or manually using passive tags. Um,
What's that first two letters standing for again?
Radio frequency identification.
Radio
Right.
frequency.
Now, you got to ask yourself, and we're fixing to go into this. All right, let me just read this. For example, in a warehouse, an RFID tag on an asset could be read by antennas in multiple warehouses, and the data could be transmitted to a computer for logging in a tracking database. Now, it just seems to me super, super weird. All right, maybe maybe I need to put on my tinfoil hat that they have RFID tags that you don't even know that they are there on as something as simple as a 1-inch binder, right?
Yeah.
So if they're tracking 1-inch binders with these smart track RFID tags that can talk to computers, what else has got an RFID tag? This is some really crazy stuff going on here. So
I mean, we know our debit cards have it now. The tap
sure,
to pay, that's RFID.
it's
Uh,
everywhere.
my badge for work to get into my job is RFID,
Mm,
and it could be hidden in everything. So now you don't have to have, in my opinion, an Alexa to spy on you, and they do. Like
true,
these devices, your phone. I mean, that's the number one thing. Like
true.
if you're
What are
ever
the
up to anything
implications of the thing?
malicious, don't do it on your phone, on your
No.
personal phone.
Think about the implications as we move into the Internet of Things, right? Beyond like 5G, what 5G is designed for is not using your telephone is secondary to what 5G is actually designed for. And they are trying to move into a sort of a singularity, an Internet of Things, where everything talks to each other. You think about this technology because back in the 90s when they had this RFID, it wasn't near as powerful as it is now, and we're using them on 1-inch binders, brand new, $2 binders. So think about the implications of that 20 years from now, and that we're just completely subtly looking over.
Well, I
It's
look at it. as this thing, like, okay, what this technology can do and be sold to a company for. It's like, hey, we can put this on your binders, and if as long as the people don't tear the tag off like you did, Roy, we can sit here and we can track and bounce around and say, oh, we know that this consumer is buying it and using it this long, and this is when we track that it ended up in the dump. So they
Absolutely.
can they can know like, oh, well, we're overbuilding our binders to last longer than the people are getting use out of. So we can start dropping, cutting costs
Right.
and lower the cost of production to increase profit. So yeah, it can be a good thing for a company. That's how all good things are sold. But it's always a double edged sword. It's like, oh, well, we can turn around and say, oh, this is a device that a certain, like somebody in the United Kingdom that's fighting a revolutionary or a civil war, and they're one of the rebellious type. And then
Right.
I'm gonna try to dance around here with words, but they're purchasing this particular product, and so we put RFID on it, and we can track their location. And guess what? We can drop an artillery bomb or a drone strike right on that cluster of people.
Yes.
It's in these inanimate things that you buy that are not like the binder is not electronic, but yet here it is. It has something electronic attached to it that could
Sure.
give away your location.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. You can buy this, take it home. Your computer can possibly ping it off the RFID, and then it becomes an IP address, and then it sends the information back that tags that
Yeah,
with your identity, so that no matter where you end up, where that notebook ends up, that notebook will always be tied to your identity. It's kind of
that's
crazy.
exactly how an Apple AirTag works. Is if you have an iPhone product and there's different ones for Android, whenever the Apple AirTag is around any iPhone, it pings that and sends the signal and location back to the home user, like the owner of the AirTag.
Uh-huh.
Now, because Apple got a lot of heat for that, because people that shouldn't be tracking people were tracking people, now there's a safety feature built in where the iPhone, like, if you're around a certain AirTag for a certain amount of time, it'll notify you, like, hey, this AirTag's near you.
Okay.
Just to give you a heads up, so there's no like unwarranted tracking, because there was a lot of gray area stuff going
I
on.
I I remember there being a
Yeah.
lot of that. So
And it's
that's
good. It has a great use. Like you can put it on your dog collar, on your kid's book bag, just something to know where your kids are, or put on your vehicle and somebody steals it.
Mhm.
And it's like, hey, I can go find my vehicle. But like that's the one thing I don't like about it is it's using my phone without me knowing about it to report back to somebody where this is. And I'm like, my location's got to be based in there, because if I'm within 30 feet of this air tag, that means that I'm there too. And I don't
Right.
consent to any of this.
Right. Yeah, weren't people, like, getting their cars stolen at one
Oh, yeah.
time because of air
Yeah.
tags and stuff? It's wild. It's
Well,
wild.
just tracking where they're gonna be somewhere. So, like,
Yeah.
say you're somebody, a good old boy that likes to roll around with a lot of hardware, of the Second Amendment type in your vehicle, and they're gonna wait until you go somewhere that they're like, "Oh, well, he's gonna be in work for a while. I've watched him long enough to know, like, with this air tag that he'll be there for 8 hours." It's a
Yep.
great time. Like, he leaves his truck alone for 8 hours and he's nowhere near it. That's a great time for me to break in and get everything out of it. Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
And you never even knew this thing was on your vehicle.
I'm telling you, this
That's
technology is really crazy when you think about the implications using artificial intelligence and even the programs that we have available to us just to use, like the music and the voice programs and chat GPT. And imagine what people that have money are able to use in those upper, tiers of this stuff. It's pretty
well,
wild.
all of this stuff is trickled down from what the government has. Like, it
That's right.
very slowly trickles down to the consumer. So what the government and companies like Vanguard and BlackRock are using, it's disturbing, because make no mistake, like DEI, we were calling it what were we calling it before?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. See, Larry Fink from BlackRock said they were gonna have to change the terminology because it was
hmm,
too household name, and now they have, and it's like we've all forgot about it.
it
It's
was social governance,
yeah, ESG,
ESG, yeah.
which is the same thing as
Yeah.
DEI, you know?
Yeah, and it'll be something else.
Mhm.
They figured that concept out with global warming. They figured it out that every few years they change it and
Mhm.
it gets more drastic. And
Right.
so, but they don't, who thinks of these? Do you really think Larry Fink thought of it? No,
Oh,
like they openly admit that they have the Aladdin computer system that is like one of the smartest thinking computers
yeah.
on the planet Earth.
That's what they were
And
using for the stock market too.
yeah, they use it for their investments. And then you have, and I hate, God, this could be a whole thing.
I know.
They use it to make choices in investments, and then you need to go back and look at who the government subsidized and used to bail them out of the stock market
I'm gonna
crash.
take a wild guess. The BlackRock.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you look up the history of this, man, and it's like out of a sci-fi movie. That's
yeah.
that's the
There
easiest
was
way to
a
describe it.
there was a guy that released a really cool video. I didn't save it. It was on X. I started following the channel though, but he showed a bunch of the Venn diagrams, the where it shows the corporations and how you break them off in individuals, and then they start gridding them off about what little parts that they're in, and then it starts showing you how this part of this company is owned by part of this company, and so on and so forth. And then he starts to paint a picture that, whether it's Kraft or Heinz ketchup or whatever it is, it's all, they own bits and pieces of each other. And then the outer shell is that, like, BlackRock and State Street, Vanguard, all these things actually own each other.
Yeah,
Okay. They have shares, they actually own parts of each other. So the money just continues to circulate
it's a
around.
mesh network.
It is.
That's
It's a
the
mesh
easiest way to describe it is it's a mesh, and you can't it makes it impossible to follow the money because the money goes from here to there to
network.
here to there,
Yep.
back to here.
Yep,
And
plausible deniability, tax write-offs, you name it. LLCs, shell companies, it's ridiculous.
but you look at these things going on and it's like, well, I wonder how our politicians are making all their money, not the money we're paying them.
Right.
But how do they know? I actually seen our congresswoman come up, and I've been very favorable of her lately. And that's the thing. Like I'm not going to sit here and like just say no, I don't like somebody because she has been doing a pretty decent job as
Mhm.
of lately.
Agreed.
She's keeping the lid on, and that's fine. That's please. And the thing is, somebody was pointing out some kind of weird stock trades that she made, and I'm like, man, I hope she's not getting on that bandwagon
I
where
hope not.
we're
Or
getting
is
that.
is that a sign, though, that it's inescapable? You see, I
Well,
look for these root causes in all this, like how much of this is manipulation versus just the habits of men, right? When you just get up into that positions and you get around these people and everybody's doing this, and it becomes okay on a level. That's a question I ask myself all the time, because corruption and power are very, very overwhelming to a person, you
the
know?
problem you get these people like that's why they're so deathly afraid of Trump. And like Trump as a person, yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that he says that I'm like, I don't know, but when somebody gets to the point where they have more than generational wealth, that more like they don't need any more money. It's like he has more money than he can spend in a lifetime, and Mr. Soros has more money than he can spend in a lifetime. So the goal becomes greater, and people ask like a lot of people are like, why is Trump doing this? Like his life's on the line now, and it's like, well, when you have a call and it's a greater purpose, is he could always go back and do what he's been doing, but that's not a man that will just go back and settle and do what he's been doing. He's a man
Right.
that has never settled. And
No,
like I even if he doesn't win this election, which I hope he does, you know,
absolutely.
I don't think we're going to see him go away. I think like he will
No,
come back even stronger. Will he run for presidency? I don't know, but the empire that he has already created, it's like The Dark Knight. I love that movie, and that movie gets to where like, and a lot of people don't realize it, it's starting to symbolize more and more of modern times.
sure.
It was way ahead of its time, but it's like Trump come along and he changed things. And that's what the Joker said to Batman. Like he came along and things changed. And so you had the equivalent of the equation to balance it out come along, which was the Joker in that.
Right.
And that's the thing is we've had people like Soros and Henry Kissinger and all look at the stuff that's just come out about Nixon that they're saying that he was
Mm.
framed.
They're saying that Nixon was
Framed.
framed, and it goes back to that same ethos we've talked about several times about how is everything a lie? Is everything completely manipulated? It's hard for me to believe that everything was predicated on a lie, but now or is this some gaslight confusion, right? Now they're wanting us to believe something completely different. I mean, this is some wild stuff when they're coming out with this kind of stuff. Well, Nixon was actually framed. I mean, it's I think that in this day and time, they'd rather keep us all confused to the point where we don't believe anything anymore. It's almost like a fifth generation warfare tactic, you know?
Well, it's like the old meme. It's like, well, they'll just release it in 30 or 40 years. In this
Yeah,
case, with Nixon, 50 years. And it's like, what are you going to do about it? You
yeah,
know, most of
exactly.
these people involved are dead. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're investing your time and your brain energy into something like that, and then having to rethink about everything that's going on. And how do you even prove that? You know, it's ridiculous to
But the
me.
thing is about it is you understand that they are capable of it, and all they're doing is affirming people like you and I that already
Yeah.
know that. We already had our suspicions, and we
Yes.
we could all but prove it because that's the way it's designed to be. And it's like when you see things and when you see people flip and you work hand in hand with certain people to get them in office, and even at a local level,
Yeah.
it changes them, and you see that flip, and you're like, this is going on throughout all of government.
Every aspect of it. So
They're
can
not in
this?
it. It's not a public service thing. They're in it for them.
No,
There's not many that are not.
there's a lot of truth to that statement, and I don't know how much of it is manufactured, or I've never been on that level, don't ever care to be on that level, but it is just something that is kind of hereditary within us, like an instinct all of a sudden. I don't singularity, and that is when human and artificial intelligence will merge, a concept borrowed from the world of quantum physics. American computer scientist and futurist Ray Kurzweil has long argued that the singularity would likely occur around the middle of the 21st century, and with the rise of AI, his predictions are gaining more credence. In his new book, The Singularity is Near, Kurzweil doubles down on those predictions and details how humanity's intelligence will increase a millionfold via nanobots, among other things. But that's the main thing that he's talking about. Let's see. There was something else I wanted to read about this. This is a quote. We are going to be a combination of our natural intelligence and our cybernetic intelligence, Kurzweil said in the interview with The Guardian, and it's all going to be rolled into one. We're going to expand intelligence a millionfold by 2045, and it is going to deepen our awareness and consciousness. Um, so I'm going to scan this for anything else.
The thing is, intelligence is subjective,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I had to look up the definition, right? What the singularity, and let's see, I thought I had it. Anyway, it said basically the singularity is where when technology becomes so advanced that it can think or at least act like on a million frames per second or something, which is right at human level.
But yeah,
And
quantum technology, like
yes.
it's here. They won't admit it. They've got to prep all that to announce it and everything, but the government has been using quantum technology, quantum computing, and
Hmm.
when you look into computers and the operation speed, and then you kind of get a grasp of what quantum computing is. It's like you have one big computer in a room doing all these tasks. Well, quantum computing is like having a freaking warehouse of the computers doing all different tasks.
Right.
Like you, it's basically like versus having one guy that can do it all to having a
Right.
freaking football team that can do. Each one has an individualized job.
So here
And
is singularity in technology. So I'm trying to get to what I got the other day. It says the singularity is a hypothetical future where technology growth is out of control and irreversible. It describes a point at which technology reaches a superhuman level of intelligence and capability. Um, for example, super intelligent machines can become capable of building better versions of themselves and at such a rapid rate that humans would no longer be able to understand or control them. So, all right, go ahead.
I can see singularity. We've been talking about this. It's been a topic since the '90s, and I mean, like nobody thought you'd have a computer in your hand
That's true.
in the 90s, like not what this can do. Like
Oh
this
yeah,
this right here does way more than any computer in the 90s that you had.
yes, anything.
And and what is it now? People live on their phones.
It's an extension
They
of their
don't
body.
even well, they don't even go out in public anymore and talk to people. And I've noticed people like I'll even find myself at time. It's like I'll become reclusive from physical interaction with people, and
Mhm.
it's all designed by that thing right there.
Mhm.
And so, what's the next step? It's singularity. And how do we get there? Well, you're going to have artificial intelligence interface.
Well,
Whenever artificial intelligence rolled out, they're like, well, we need a new way to interface because we're too slow like the human aspect is too slow to interface with what the artificial intelligence is.
now the interesting part of this, this is what gets me, and this is where we are all concerned, is how on earth could they merge humans and artificial intelligence together? So I'm going to be bringing this up in a second. But basically, they're talking about using nanotechnology. Okay,
I
nano.
have an excellent book if anybody is out there that's a reader or audiobook. It's excellent on audiobook. When I listened to this book, like I
Mhm,
got through the first two chapters, I was hooked. Like I finished that book, like I never do this, but I finished that book in like 2 days. It's called Prey, Prey,
mhm,
and it's by Michael Crichton. And you may or may not know who that is, but Jurassic Park, yeah, he
mhm.
wrote the book that the movie is based off of. He also did Westworld, like that's all based off
Oh
work that
yes,
he
yes.
did. He's got tons and tons of excellent novels. He died unfortunately
Mhm.
back in the late 2000s, and that book it is it's about nanotechnology and nanotechnology robots, and I won't give it all away because
Right.
but it's a must read. Like reading that, I'm sitting here like, wow, this he came out with this in like 2001, 2002,
Mhm. Right.
and
And we know
it,
about graphene oxide, right? Graphene
yeah,
oxide was discovered when I was, supposedly, or led out to the world when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, which is right around that time frame, right? Which is a carrier. Now, I want to bring up this definition real quick so everybody can see what nanotechnology is. Nanotechnology is the process of manipulating atoms and molecules at the nanoscale, which is between 1 and 100 nanometers, which I have no idea what that is. This allows researchers to change the physical and chemical properties of a substance by making changes at the atomic level. These changes can lead to new macro technologies with enhanced properties such as greater endurance and increased conductivity. And the way it works is instead of manufacturing materials by cutting down on massive amounts of material, it uses reverse engineering principles, which operates in nature. So it mimics nature. It allows the manufacturing of products at the nanoscale, such as atoms, and then develops products to work at a deeper scale. So there's way further that we could go into that, but that is the crux of the meat and potatoes, if you will, of this singularity. So how on
I
earth?
want to sidebar with this
Yes.
real
Okay.
quick, and it's on topic, but it's off topic.
Sure.
Havana syndrome. I'm calling it right now.
Ah.
It's the use of nano. It's a nanotechnology weapon. People are talking about microwaves and things like that.
Mhm.
Now I thought about it, I'm like nanotechnology just by the way of what it does to people.
Right. Well, we talk about the COVID, SARS. I'll leave it at that. How they're using nanotechnologies and mRNA, gene editing, alters DNA. What do you think that that does that? Well, nanotechnology, right?
Oh,
So
it's
that
been in
is
use. It's been in use. Do we
obviously
have
effective.
smart machines at that level? Maybe not. Like whenever you're able to combine artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and nano machines, and it takes those three and a little bit more of that technological magic to make it work. But whenever you can have a mesh network of quantum thinking machines that are that small, you have something there
Right.
that is very dangerous.
Yes.
Very, very dangerous. And
And it has to have a way to communicate too, right? So
that's
that's
the
really
biggest unsettling thing to me right now is how uncapped, and there's not even talk of legislation on artificial intelligence, man.
no.
And when we, we were wanting to get into the bots online and everything going on, like,
Mhm.
artificial intelligence has only amplified bots, but the bots have always been artificial intelligence since the mid 2015s,
Mhm.
20
Yep.
teens. It's
It
been going
has.
on.
I mean, obviously, the Chat GPT that we're getting now has been around for a long time. I remember being in high school, Tyler, in a reading class, and they brought us in for this 2-day psychology. This is back during like CD-ROMs. This is a
Hmm.
CD-ROM you stick in the computer, and it was a artificial psychologist. And this was back in 1998, dude, when
Did you
computers
get
were
the did you get the headphones where they played the sound for you and you had to look through the thing and it showed you like the fruit and all of that? Did they?
yes.
Yeah.
Did that as well. But you could sit there and you could type out questions to this. Now
Mhm.
it had pre-responses.
But when you research it, it never happened. For
Yeah, right.
everybody
Uh-huh.
that grew up in the 90s that I'm talking about was probably born late 80s or earlier. They
Mm,
remember this in classes, and it was through the 90s. Like, they went around and, yeah, they were doing these psychological tests for what? I don't know. There was a
no.
program. It was called something Gate. I can't remember. It's something Gate.
Mhm.
Project Gateway, I wanna say.
Maybe,
But
maybe.
it's very hard to find information on it. It's like none of that existed anymore.
Mhm.
Like 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot of forums, a lot of websites, and where people actually found this equipment and had pictures of the equipment. So this is
Mhm.
before you had the Dolly AI,
Mhm.
image generator. Now you can't trust a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But this was before any of that was even around, and it's like people had pictures of the equipment and information, and now, like, dead internet theory, it's all
Yep,
gone. The websites are gone.
that is correct. So I find it very fascinating that you read into these articles and you find out that Ray Kurzweil says that in order for humans to become according to them, we're about 20 years, 20 plus years off from that. And we already see, like you said, in your phone and the technology we have all around us, the fact that we're doing the live streams and we're just, all this stuff, we're connected. Who knows? Like, what is this going to look like in 5 years and 10 years? That's kind of a scary thing. While we're all preoccupied with everything else, this stuff just keeps rolling and nobody's talking about it. It's
Well,
something
that's
we
the
need to
thing
think.
is all these singularity theories and all of that stuff that's been discussed, they were discussing it like it would be something that people would willingly take, that you'd have to sign up and voluntarily do. And like the more, especially Uncle Alex, AJ over on
Hmm.
InfoWars, he would talk about it. And I'm sitting here like, you're not, whenever this is rolling out, it's like the jab. You're not going to get a choice.
Yeah,
It's going to be more than that. Like, if you want to do certain jobs, if you want to do uh,
hmm,
some type of service for the government, some type of government work or whatever, it's like, no, you're going to have to, because that's, and what's disturbing now, like, let me preface this with, they have artificial intelligence apps now where it's like your companion buddy
hmm.
that you talk to it, and it talks to everybody else for you.
Right. You can, yeah. It sends messages and does
Mhm.
things for you. Yeah,
So you
absolutely.
you
Sorry,
know you could.
you ever seen the movie Her?
I've
Joaquin
seen
Phoenix.
bits and pieces, but I've heard that it's. I mean, but
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, even Hollywood, it's conditioning. Like,
of
that's what
course.
this is. This is
Yes,
conditioning you, and then it's like, hey, guess what? You won't have to type out to tell this thing what you wanted to tell everybody. Like, that's the way you'll communicate. Is it will not be a physical oral type of
sure.
communication anymore.
Well, it'll be your digital self unleashed, sitting in some warehouse somewhere in some Google warehouse. It's a totally digital Tyler and a digital Roy that is just every time we're speaking through this technology, it's sending it over there and it's creating its own profile, its own brain. And you think about adding that on a quantum level, that's pretty scary. And case in point to what you said, this article I'd pulled up, and I just pulled it up because I was wanting to see if we even. You just gave me a perfect segue into that. But check this out. This is a pretty recent article from the 10th, actually. Plandemic 2.0 will see police, NATO forcing the world to get vaccinated. So no longer will it be a choice, according to Natural News, right? The latest version of New Zealand's pandemic plan, which serves as a blueprint for the rest of the world, includes provisions to allow law enforcement and even NATO to enforce the government's mandatory vaccination agenda. So you can read that on Based Underground. But that just like you said, they're not going to be so nice next time their pandemic comes. They're going to be using force. So
Everything that's going on is a beta test. That's what you have to understand. Like it's like that old meme. It's like, hey friend, I know things are bad right now, but they're gonna get way worse.
yeah, right,
Because
right.
there's nobody like, wow, Trump's the only billionaire, and to an extent, we now have Elon Musk, but
Hmm.
God, he feels like a Bond villain. Like
Right.
as much as there's things that I like that he does, he feels so much like a Bond villain. But it's like, who do we have? Who is it that's gonna kind of step in and push this stuff away?
Right.
And honestly, the answer is us. Like it comes up to you. Like, are you having these conversations with people, or are you gonna just let it creep up?
Mm,
Because the more that people become aware, the more that you go out and you're like Morpheus and you're waking people up from the matrix. Because
right.
that's what this is. Everybody's living their life online. I'm
Yep.
guilty of it. I'm very guilty of it. I'm aware, so I make a lot more time to get away from it and get outside time. And something that I've found is like when I'm out in the woods, carrying one of these and in my kit, like that's the freest I've ever felt because I go out there with that and I'm like, man, like there's some countries that these people would be beheaded for
Mhm.
having the things that I have. And it's like, I need to exercise that freedom. And if that's not your thing, don't do it. But you need to understand like what's going on. Like if you love cars, if you love hot rods, you need to
Mhm.
go out. You need to quit just consuming content. You need to go out and build something and drive that thing
Right.
and get behind the wheel or just go out and touch grass because our freedoms are slowly being eroded.
Right.
Slowly. And that's what I see whenever there's all this talk of singularity, I don't
Yes.
see freedom. People are like, "Oh, the technology is gonna set us free." I'm like, "No, they're putting you in a prison." That's what
Mhm.
it's gonna be. It's going to be a prison that you can never escape from.
Right. No, it's very, very true. It's crazy to me to think about. I apologize too. This is the second time that Facebook has shut down the live stream, and then it starts up another one, which I
Oh,
have that
man.
setting turned on. So I was just checking to make sure Rumble's still going in YouTube. I'm just wondering if Facebook is doing this on purpose. So
You think it's capping you at, like, an hour or something? Like, it might be a time cap?
I don't think so because we've went on longer than
Okay.
this, and I don't understand it. I definitely gonna cap this an hour and a half because I've been
Yeah, I
pushing it
understand.
past 2. But we're okay right now. I don't understand because Rumble's not doing it and YouTube's not. It's just Facebook, but
Yeah.
we're still on there. We're still going. So I don't know. It's almost like they want to discourage you. They want to discourage you to keep from going. They'll find every little way they can to just blip you, you know. It's
Yeah.
very frustrating. Very frustrating.
It's not like it used to be. Like, I miss the old days of Facebook because especially when they first rolled out live is you could go live and you would have hundreds and hundreds of people on there. You would have tons of comments,
Yeah.
and it was just great. And it's like now I feel like, they had these features and now they don't want to show you groups or it anymore. Like you don't see
No.
any of that
Well,
stuff
the groups are
anymore.
dead. I was thinking about that the other day,
Yeah.
you know. And in relation to a little bit, we didn't cover a lot of the Civil War, and some of the geopolitical, but I was thinking even back when we had our Second Amendment groups and how you could feel it in the air, like at any point in time, something was going to hit the fan. I mean, we had the summer of love going on. COVID was before the COVID vaccine, you know, before the pandemic shut down the world down. But it was like this feeling in the air, and it's like back then, we look back on it, and all it was a bunch of gaslighting from these cities and the George Floyd type stuff. And here we are in 2024. with like the most historical election, 80 days away from us, or however long. We're literally like on our tippy toes from falling off the edge of World War III, multiple fronts. And it's like, I don't know, maybe we've become just so normalized to all this because like we're fixing seems like we're fixing to slip off into an abyss. It's
Yeah.
like I don't even feel the same way I felt several years ago.
No.
It's
I
very
mean,
weird to me.
it's almost so hard to enjoy the things you used to enjoy now. Like I've talked to quite a few people about it, especially in, the other side of it, the things I do on YouTube, and there's a group of people I talk to on there about it. And it's like it's just everything now. It feels artificially driven, but it's like everybody has ADD. Like the channel is constantly changing on the TV because you're like, all right, I'm on here for 15 seconds and I'm bored of that and I'm changing the channel to this. And
Right.
that's what they're doing is like they're just rolling and escalating the stuff through to where it's like just a new cycle every day. Like,
Mhm.
yesterday's news now feels like it was 2 months ago,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
does. It
and
does.
stuff last month feels like it was last year. And it's by design. I mean, it can't not be by design. But
Mhm.
maybe that's the only way they can get you to keep coming back to think that, oh, the world is constantly in turmoil.
Right, right.
I can't help but envy those people that don't have a cell phone and they live, in the mountains of Montana or something, and like they don't even know what's going on right now. Like they
Right.
don't care. They're living their life. They're
Yeah.
raising cattle, ranching or whatever, and living their life. And you have this stuff like you're talking about, like just all of this going on.
Mhm.
And, like, stuff for the textbooks, like, it's stuff we would read about in textbooks about World War II when back when schools actually had you study about that. And
Right.
now I guess everybody's just numb to it. That's
Yeah.
that's the only thing, like, even when the assassination attempt happened with Trump, like, I was upset, but I'm like, well, I mean, it took them this long to do it because we knew it was coming. We knew it
Right.
was coming.
Yeah, and the it was a very weird feeling, to me. I'm glad you brought that up because with that particular day, I was in Atlanta trying to get back. But the way all this shook out and the fact that it's August the 14th, we really still don't have an official narrative of any of that happened. It almost feels like it was surreal, like it didn't even happen. Trump, you think about everything that's going on now, and Trump is still in the picture. Isn't it crazy to wrap your mind around that? Like Trump wasn't supposed to be here. He
I
wasn't
know.
supposed to be alive during this. So if you think that the deep state or whatever you want to call them have control, they really don't, because I'm sure that they had to pretty much rip their playbook out, and now we're kind of seeing that happen. We're seeing that in real time, like with the way Kamala Harris is, and these Google ads that she just got busted, changing headlines. It's like they are literally throwing everything that they can at the wall and seeing what is sticking here.
That's why
It's
we had that 2-week lull. If you notice, like, everything kinda chilled out for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Like, that happened because, the puppet masters, they were sitting there and they're like, "This was not supposed to happen." Like, that they're questioning everything right
Right.
now because
Yeah.
it wasn't supposed to happen that way. Like, we were not supposed to be here,
Yeah. Right.
and now, yeah, that like you're seeing a severe election escalation of things, and it's not done by any means. The thing I don't
Mhm.
want to say it on here, but the thing I told you about earlier, like there's going to be another hot topic aside from abortion that's
Mhm.
going to come up. There's going to be another event. Like I know it. I feel it. There's going to be some
Yes.
other event, crisis like event in America to create another topic that that the dim side is going to run on. Like they're going to
Mhm.
pull at the heartstrings of everybody to help propel them. Like
Right.
it's in the works. It's going to happen. I mean, and just like this whole thing with the UK, the riots going on in United Kingdom and everything, like they're
Mhm.
going through a migrant crisis. That's what
Yeah.
it's being touted
Replace
as,
immigration. And it's
and
countrywide.
Yeah, and these racist far right wingers, and where we heard that before, they don't want these migrants there, and they're all migrants of fighting age. And guess what? Their government's bringing them in, giving them a cell phone, putting them up in hotel rooms while their military that like they say like this is verbatim, and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm in a parallel universe.
Hmm.
But verbatim, their military vets are having to sleep on the streets, and it's like they're not doing anything for them, but they're bringing all these migrants in, and these are males capable of working, and they're just putting them up, and they're having extremely bad issues of rape, of people that live there getting raped and robbed and beat to death, and their children stabbed, and so
Yeah.
they're sick of it. And like now, they're trying to threaten, extradition to Elon Musk for saying that they're on the brink of civil war, and trying to pivot and say that it's not. And the thing is, like, you really, I urge anybody that's out there, you really, really need to pay attention to this, what's going on in Europe and Ireland
Yes.
and there,
Yes.
because it's been cooking off in Ireland for a while, and it's not talked about
Yes.
enough either. But what you're seeing is a post November 5th world for America. Like,
Yes.
no matter what route we go, no
Hmm.
matter what route we go, there's going to be something that's going to happen after that, whether
Sure.
Kamala wins, whether Trump wins, it's not going to be good.
No,
People,
and this is something I wanted to share too because I pulled this up. Uh, Dadgummit. They've already changed it. Never mind. They were talking about how civil war was pretty much going to be the norm after the presidency. It was on Drudge Report earlier today, and here's a new one that just popped up. Let me pull this up real quick. So this is what I mean by the desperation tactics, right? They're not on cruise control. They're 90 to nothing trying to figure this out. All of a sudden now Democrats are about to push lawfare against Trump to a new level and sentence him to jail. So Trump wasn't supposed to be a part of this equation, and now they're going to go back to the law. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How kind of makes you wonder why did they postpone all those cases anyway before the assassination attempt? Oh, they just decided, well, we're going to postpone this. Like, what is really going on here? Because now they're bringing this back. Maybe somebody knew he wasn't supposed to be here. I don't know.
yeah.
There's a lot of really crazy things that happened around that, and here we are with Trump still in the picture. So they're going to throw everything they can against this November election, and
But anything like that they do, like it's shown before, it's only going to help them in the polls, which they're slanting the polls now because
big time.
I actually was talking about this on I think Tarvin's Facebook post, that he was talking about the polls, and like one guy was like, "Well, they're doing it to disenfranchise the conservative voters," and Tarvin's like, "What are you talking about? It's been like good for Trump ever since." And I was like, "Here's the thing about that:
Hmm.
if you want the current Democrat nominee, the front runner, out of the race, well, you would slant the polls to make it look like he's not doing a good job, and
Right.
people don't. So that makes it more palatable for the transfer of power, and that's
Hmm.
what happened. And guess what? The power transfer happened, and now all of a sudden you have somebody that was like a 15% or 20%. I can't remember what it was, but it was way lower than Biden's
Hmm.
approval rating. Now all of a sudden she's got a good approval rating, and she's
Right.
polling high, and it's like before Trump was beating her by double digits everywhere.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. It's
I'm not buying it.
no. We went through a parallel. I blame this on the Hadron Collider. We have separate. We split off into a space time continuum. We're on an upside down parallel universe, and things are ass backwards. It's crazy to think about all this.
It is, and I really thought about this too. I thought long and hard, and I'm like, where this lawfare came from? Like now that we dig more and more into Kamala Harris, like she was an attorney general, she was a district attorney. I mean, what they're conducting, I guarantee you, if you go to California and look at anybody, they use lawfare there on everybody that opposes them, that opposes,
Oh yes.
the party, because I mean, that's what they do. And so all she did was probably give Biden a tool and say, "Hey, I can do this with lawfare."
Right.
They probably call it something else, but they hook up with Soros because Soros has all these judges that go to his little workshops and pledge, and then he gives them the money to win
Hmm.
elections, to just
Yep.
to basically oversaturate the market where they win the elections. And all they have to do is pledge every year. They go to 5 or 6 meetings every year and pledge
Right.
that they're gonna do these things, these DEI things that are oddly,
Yeah.
the same thing that BlackRock and Vanguard push,
uh,
and Soros is actually paying for people and pushing too. It's kinda weird how that works out.
It is.
But
The whole thing's weird.
that's
It
where this lawfare comes from is Kamala. So if she's elected, I mean, you're gonna have an uncapped lawfare because you're gonna have somebody in control that already knows that side. Call her dumb, call her stupid, whatever, but she sucks at public speaking and she has no play to make because she's not a leader in the game. But
No.
stuff like that, she does know how to work the system. And
Sure.
that's what you have to be careful of because her history shows that she knows how to work the legal system in her favor to get her outcome because that's
Well,
what she's done.
and not only that, what we're talking about tonight. So she's already made the promise. Well, she's going to shut down the detention centers. And what that means is she's going to empty them out. It doesn't have anything to do with the border. She's going to go ahead and executive order on the Second Amendment. So she's going to do all these things. It's going to gaslight
They
all
want
of the American
chaos.
people. They want the chaos. And
They
while
want
all
it.
this is going on, it just sets a straight, just an open road for all any of this technology to continue to take place, keep us fighting down here in the streets, where we're not paying any attention, and they can just craft anything they want. And the next thing you know, we're ingesting nanotechnology if we're already not doing it right.
I mean,
Uh,
the easiest delivery system is food. You put it in the food,
exactly.
there, it's done.
Sure.
Like you
I
said with
read,
the RFID chip, it
yeah.
can be subbed in on inanimate objects.
I read a crazy article the other day that was talking about how one of the easiest ways to put nanotechnology in a human's body is by using it through soft drinks like Coke, Pepsi, that kind of stuff, because of the way that the delivery system and how what's made it the beverage and how it can be put in. And I ran across this article that I'll throw up real quick.
It goes through both part of your digestive system, and
Mhm.
then if it hits your anything that hits your lower gut is going to go into your full system, no matter
And
what.
here's this article from Google's AI could soon be making ads for Coca-Cola. Advertising giant WPP has teamed up with Google to incorporate AI into its marketing efforts. So here they are trying to normalize that. And then of course you dig a little deeper and then you start into this nanotechnology and realize that hey, this could all be part of something. So, it's just something I think we need to keep an eye on, understand that they're attacking us in more ways than one. Uh,
It
so
is. I mean that they're distracting us with civil war and
yeah,
everything else going on, and it's like it's a distraction because you're going to worry about your family, and this pulls into play everybody's family. Like, you know, the migrant, like it's bullying over to where there's literally pro Palestine, pro migrant people,
mhm,
and the protesters in the UK fighting right now, and the
right,
cops are arresting all the UK anti-migrant right extremists,
yeah,
and they're letting the others walk free, and so this drives the conflict even worse.
yes. I'm sure you've
And
seen some of the newest videos that come out like yesterday with in Ireland, they brought the Molotov cocktails back out. They're
mhm,
they're throwing. I mean, it's just, and we're not seeing any of this. The media is not paying
no.
any bit of attention to this. We're not getting updates on Ukraine, on all the troop movements. You're having to dig and go to sources to
Listen,
find this information.
Telegram is where it's at. Telegram is
Yeah,
the new Twitter. I mean, as much as I like Musk, as much as I like X, it's not what it was
sure.
because of everything. But the thing you have, like the Russian Kremlin, is on Telegram, and they release what they say, so you can look at it for in its entirety. Like, sure, they're not going to tell you the truth. Like, I don't know any countries people that are going to tell you the truth about a situation
No.
if outcomes lie on what they're telling you, but you can go to Telegram and you can get information, and that's pretty much where I get 80% of my information now is like via Telegram channels that I vetted that it's like, yeah, this is legit, or there's a conflict going on. Let me find a Telegram channel in that country with things that are going on.
Right.
And I mean, that's what you have to do now. You have to go. You're not going to find it in Google because Google is
No.
controlled. You're not going to find it in Bing. It's not going to be in any search algorithm. It's gonna be on the underground, and right now,
Yep.
like, Telegram, there's a lot of pros and cons to Telegram, but that's the underground right now. Like you were saying with groups, that's the new Facebook groups.
It
That's the way I
is.
look at it.
And I'll tell you, just like we covered earlier, you know, Kamala Harris, the Democratic campaign, Kamala Harris has been paying Google to manipulate headline ads and throwing it all in our faces and trying to make believe that they're on top of the world. The polls have shifted. There's a +5. I mean, we're being lied to on, I mean, every 24-hour basis. How can we trust any of this information that's coming out? You
Can't.
can't.
There's no way.
And it's absurd. And it's absurd that they're even allowed to continue in this capacity like that. And freedom of speech, right? It's crazy.
Well, they found a way around it.
They found
They're
a way around it.
using technology to circumvent all of our rights. I mean, that's
Yes.
and they figured out with BlackRock and Vanguard that they don't even have to use the government to enforce policy anymore. That they can force policy upon the privacy sector via loans,
Right.
via investments, and all the above. Because if you get branded as a bad company by one of them that own everybody, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have a future long for this world. You're not going to be able to get the growth out of your company that you want. So,
That's
like
right.
Disney is a perfect example right now. They are hemorrhaging money, hemorrhaging.
They certainly are.
They have the best lineup of source material ever, and they keep pumping out bullshit.
Yeah.
I
It's the
mean,
truth.
they keep pumping it out, and it's like they can't. They're between a rock and a hard place, or a you know,
Well, I'll go back to
they're
Tractor
not.
Supply.
Yeah,
You know, what Tractor Supply is building a store in every town in America right now, right? But then that huge scandal come out about their DEI crap, which they said, "Oh, we're going to back off on that." Oh, they got caught. Well, where do you think they were getting all that money? As long
yeah.
as you're playing the game, as long as you're teaching these DEIs and all this crap and going along with whatever they're telling you to, the money is endless. You know, and so, of course, they're going to play ball. How else are they going to get their loans and get their capital to back their capital? You know, it's a rigged
I mean
system,
that
my friend.
my previous employer, like I seen them going that way before DEI and ESG was a thing, but it was a thing then. We just didn't know
We didn't know.
about it. But the way it was turning and pushing people away, and then like the pay rates and everything, and like forcing me in my market to hire a female and people of certain ethnicity, and I'm like, but that's not what the market needs. That like that's not what we need here. Like I want to hire somebody that's adept at the job.
Mhm.
Like I didn't like that. Like I was forced to hire people over gender and
Mm.
ethnicity, and I'm like, this feels illegal.
Yeah,
Like it
right.
feels pretty illegal. Like this, like this is all the things that HR told me not to hire people over, but
Mhm.
you're telling it, and they're like, no, that's company thing now is we need a diverse staff.
Exactly.
And of course, like once they started forcing these things, I lost a lot of my people,
Sure, I
because
understand
it's like we're bringing in this person that knows nothing about the job, nothing, has no experience, is a noob, bar none, and they're making the same as this person that's been in this industry for 15, 20 years.
that. Right.
How do you
And
justify that?
well, that's maybe you justify it because you're trying to weaken the company, so the company goes out of business, more people get put on poverty, more people lose their land, you will own nothing and be happy, and then all of a sudden the fix is in. It's a
Yeah,
universal basic income, right? So a lot of this stuff could be just so pre-planned on a 10-step level that we can't see because it makes zero sense, right? It's like pointing a loaded gun at your foot, knowing and then if you pull the trigger, you're gonna blow your toe off, right?
yeah.
But we're pointing the gun down at our foot, and we're literally pulling the trigger, and knowing, and it makes no sense whatsoever. So,
But it's in the real world, and if you don't, if any of you out there don't believe what I'm saying, and you're receiving this transmission at some point in the future, like if you don't believe what I'm saying, go to a restaurant, go to a fast food restaurant, and sit down and really compare things, how things are now to how things were 5 years ago. Please compare
yeah,
it.
I
Do
agree.
a Venn diagram, the two circles, and tell me what's the same, what's different.
Hmm.
It's
I
night
agree.
and day. It's night and day different.
It truly is. It truly is. Well, Tyler, we're gonna get off here in just a minute. We are still live. It just split it up into two. So it's there. People are still watching. I lost comments from the first one. And
Dang.
let's see. I know it, but Lord have mercy. It is what it is, man. It just seems it's never the same problem. It's always new problems. But here, this is the second time I've been split up. So I don't know. But it's only on Facebook. Tyler, I'm gonna give you the final word, like and kind of what I want to ask you about it is, we've got November coming up, the election. We're paying heavy attention to geopolitical goings on, and we're watching technology. Give us your bird's eye view. Where do you see us going into 2025?
It's hard to say because everything pivots on what's going to happen. I think there's going to be some type of additional global conflict that grows. Likely Iran, Israel. But the thing is, China's window of invasion of Taiwan is closing, oddly, around the same time of the presidential election. Like right now, you have fair seas,
Mhm.
Taiwan's surrounded by turbulent seas. And so to get a lot of people on the ground fast, to be a smart move for invasion, the next 2 months is very pivotal if they're going to do that. And there has been a buildup there.
Yes,
I don't want to dig too hard on
going
it,
on for
but
months.
yeah, and then you also have the potential for conflict in the UK and Ireland. Things are boiling over. Like it's not going to be a neutral. Like this is not the summer of love George Soros funded crap.
Right.
It's not what this is. Like when the money stops, the protesting stops.
And
That's exactly what happened.
I'm pretty certain that no, regardless whether Trump wins or Kamala wins, this is going to be a highly contested election. Nobody is
Oh
going to
yeah.
buy this, and we've been set up to not believe anything. So
Well, the biggest thing I want to drive home with people, and that a lot of the YouTubers that which that's where I get a lot of my information now, and that's what I know. That's where a lot of you get your information from. They're not touching on is this election after it is going to be a very weak moment for the United States. Very
agreed.
weak. That we're going to be preoccupied. This means that things could happen. Things could happen overseas. Things could happen at home
Yes,
via outside forces. And what I
sure,
want to drive home, and part of what my channel does, is like you need to make preparations. Do you need to go out and buy a year's worth of food to eat? No. Oh, my screen blacked out. But do you need to buy, a week's worth of food? Yes. Like that's where I'm at. Like things you can if you buy enough to feed yourself for a week and put it up, you can stretch that out to like 3 weeks,
sure,
probably. And if you're really, if you're feeling really froggy, maybe a month.
yeah,
But get at least a week's worth of food. It's good to just have, just period. Like tornado rolls through your town. You got some food. You
sure.
don't have to worry about
Well,
it. But
if we're
have
looking at history, right? 2016. Let's go to that for example. Immediately off the rip, right? Donald Trump got elected. Things became turbulent those next 2 years until the
yes,
world shut down, right? If history is any sort of repeater, and we know that they're lying and propping up Kamala Harris, that Trump has with all of our election and securities and what we're doing on the ground, right? And Donald Trump does become president. What do you think? I mean, that's if you look at that time frame, we went through COVID. Like, what is happening on the other side of that coin, man? It's not going to be roses and
no,
peaches, and Donald Trump's not going to just be able to go in there and sign his 15 executive orders, and everything's going to be
no.
hunky dory, and people are going to go, you know what? It's over. Let's just do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, even when he's elected, it's going to take a solid year to get any traction on anything. Like he'll do better than he did in 2016 because he got in there in 2016, and I mean, he was freaking derailed by Republicans, in 2016.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so he knows more about it now, but it's still like the derailment's going to be there. The agencies resisting him at every twist and turn of the way.
Yes,
All that is still going to be there, and they're going to try to defer things as long as they can. So it's like, yeah, he may hit up the executive order on drill baby drill, but there's going to be
but
heads
George
and
Soros
people,
is
and
going to be go burn the cities down to the
well,
ground.
yeah, you're going to have environmental terror, eco terrorists, and you're going to have the people in the 3-letter agencies that are going to fight this and hold everything up, and they're going to like pull people's permits and do inspections and do all the little Fed stuff that they can do to keep this from
And
making things
not to
better.
mention the millions of illegal immigrants that are over here, military age from different countries. We're not picking on just one race or ethnicity. We're talking about we have no idea what is in this country right now, or what, how many, and groups and cells. We don't know.
And that's what draws me back to food, sustainment. If you live in a place that has potable water, put up 5 gallons per person, something like that. That'll get you for a while. So food sustainment, you know, make sure you have some form of shelter. We're going to be going into the cooler months pretty soon, so some way to stay warm, and security. You need
Absolutely,
security. Like
absolutely.
you need security, and you need ways to feed that security, but you also shooting and accuracy and marksmanship is a perishable skill, and so if you're not actively practicing it once a month, I would say once a month, like it's 15-20 bucks for a box of ammo to go out and go to a range. It's like $5 to go to a range around here and just put some targets on paper at 50 to 100 yards just to make sure you're brushed up. But
Right.
do that, and these things are all cheap. Like, yeah, that may cost you something, but I don't want to shut because you can't hold firearms on a
Sure.
live stream. But just a handgun, it's going to be fine. Something like that to defend yourself and your family. If you got
Yeah.
the cash for a long gun, do it. But an alternate means of communication, because
Yeah.
when things go very bad, like say we have a tornado where that
That's right.
won't matter behind me, maybe. I mean, there's events where it could matter, but a tornado could, or wildfire could take down cell phone towers.
That's right. And ham
Having
radio is the way to
this,
go.
yes, and North Georgia is like the GMRS mecca
Oh, yeah,
where
it's the capital of the world. I mean, we've got more
yes.
ham activity and better groups. Oh my lord, yeah, I'm telling you,
So
man. I'll tell you one thing: it's great to be living in this region, isn't it?
yes, but having a $30 radio like this, there's actually better ones for $30 that have more wattage, and knowing how to ping a repeater. If you know how to key up, like just get to your closest repeater, and that's going to
Mhm.
expand you for about 100 miles.
That's
So
right,
then you have comms for 100 miles. So
and
something
you got people
happens,
checking in.
yeah,
Yes, a whole
you
network.
know,
It's good stuff, man.
buy one of these, put it in a bag that goes everywhere you go. It comes outside of your vehicle at night when you're in home, and have some sustainment, some supplies on hand for the vehicle if you get trapped out and about for whatever reason. And if you have a spouse, it's 30
Absolutely,
bucks. I mean, it's 30
absolutely.
bucks. Like you spend 30 bucks on your Chick-fil-A.
That's
Like
right.
this is something that has not gone up with inflation. Just
That is true. It's a,
buy it,
it's a staple.
look up Not a Rubicon, like Jeeps, Not a Rubicon on YouTube. He's got all the info you need to
Yeah,
know about how to
I've
use one.
seen that channel. It's good stuff. All right. Well, listen, man, we're gonna get off of here. Hey, XXL dude on YouTube, Tyler. I think we could probably talk for half a day,
Yes.
still not cover everything, but it's always a pleasure having you on the show, and it's a nice break for me, away from everything else, to talk about the juicy stuff that I'm always reading outside of this. So, but I
Yeah, we'll
appreciate you.
have to maybe make a monthly thing out of it or something. I think I
That
could
would
set
be
aside
cool.
some time for that.
That would be really cool, man. I would enjoy that. So. All right, gang. Sorry about the YouTube split up. I'll try to merge them together. Other than that, I think we're still good on the rest of it. Facebook, I said YouTube, Facebook. They just
Yeah.
hate me. But I'm gonna get out of here. I don't know what's next except Garland Favorito on the 20th here in studio. That's next Tuesday, I believe. So we'll be posting that, and we're getting ready for the big event on September the 7th. We'll keep posting that. Thanks again, my brother.
Thank you, man.
And you guys were out. I'll see y'all in a few days.